Hello, I'm Bill Haslam, and I wish that I could be with you in person. This would be a much more enjoyable conversation to be looking at your faces and having a real conversation. But I am pleased to be here. As they said, I'm the former governor, which what I've learned in this is you get to be former a lot faster than you might think. The Australians have a saying, "Rooster today, feather duster tomorrow," and I'm in the feather duster stage of life. I'm from Knoxville, Tennessee, and was in my hometown last week walking downtown, and somebody grabbed me and said, "I know you used to be somebody, but I can't remember who you used to be." And so I'm in that used to be somebody. But one of the things that is dear to my heart is what you're talking about today. You know, when you're in office as governor, you see so many problems and issues, and you realize sometimes that they tie together a lot more than you might have first thought. And one of those was I looked and I saw so many of the social and health issues and problems we had. And I saw so many challenges with jobs, with companies that wanted to fill those jobs and people who wanted jobs, but there wasn't a match and there wasn't a preparation level. And I saw so many families who would love to have the opportunity for more education, but they just didn't have the financial wherewithal to do that. So I was blessed in that before I was governor, I was the mayor of Knoxville, and in our county then some people asked me to help them start what we called Knox Promise, the idea that had every student in Knox County be able to have 2 years free of community college or technical school, and we did that by raising philanthropic dollars. And the idea worked. And so some other cities in Knoxville copied us, but we all realized this would be a hard thing to keep going. If we're having to rely on donated money, there'll be a time when somebody either won't want to give that money, or whoever's in office won't feel like going out and raising the money. And so that wasn't really a sustainable model. So when I got in office, some folks, a couple of people here, a guy named Randy Boyd, who now is the president of the University of Tennessee, but came at the time to help us on higher education issues, said, what if we could take what we did in Knoxville and expand it everywhere and be able to tell the parent of a newborn, when your daughter or son gets to college age, they can go for free. And so we started out working on putting together Tennessee Promise, this great idea of can we be able to tell people that 2 years free of community college or technical school, regardless of your ability to pay, as long as you've graduated from high school, that we would do that. So we went to work on it, and we came up with a financial plan to do that, and we became the first state to offer that. And it felt like one of those really big seminal moments in our state. And I remember the night I announced it to the legislature in a State of the State speech. And I think everybody kind of looked and said, well, how are we going to do that? And as we walked through it at the end ended up being an easy idea to sell because people got it. They understood, like I did, that so many of the jobs of the future were going to require a degree or certificate. And we weren't serving our people well, nor were we serving our businesses and other job creators well if we didn't help more people have that degree. Well, what I quickly learned was there are so many people who just said, college is not for me. We don't do that in our family. And so our goal was to change the conversations around dinner tables around the state from what am I going to do after high school to where am I going to go to college? And we loved the community college idea for several reasons. One, the geographic proximity of our community colleges and their branches spread around the state. Number two, community colleges by their very nature are much more flexible. They can adapt their course offerings, and we have seen them do that and still do that. And I know you all are focusing a lot on some of our populations that haven't had high success rates, whether it be children out of the foster system or disabled families with disabled members or veterans. And so what we see and hoped was that our community colleges could craft programs specifically for those populations and others, and could hear from the businesses in their community that says, we really need more of these type graduates, and would adjust to that. So I was really pleased with how well our schools adapted to that. So obviously we kicked off the program. It was a big success. It did what we wanted. It attracted first generation college students, which was a big issue. It attracted low income students who previously weren't considering college. And it opened up the realms of possibility. We did discover some problems. We discovered some low completion rates. And so we drilled down to see what happened. Historically, community colleges haven't had the greatest completion rates for a variety of reasons. But as we looked at it, there were a couple of things that stood out. The first was, were the students prepared when they got there? And if they hadn't been adequately prepared in K-12, it was almost impossible for our community colleges to help them keep up. And so we started working harder to connect the K-12 experience to the free college offer. And I tried to spread the message, it's not about access to college, it's about success. And success depended on preparation when you got there. And it's one of the reasons I worked so hard to insist that our schools have high standards for graduation and not just set the bar so low that you could graduate and it wouldn't mean anything. And it's like I said, we worked so hard on having high standards and having assessments where we can measure what our students were learning. So that was part of it on the front end to make certain students were prepared. On the back end, once they got there, because we noticed when students didn't complete, so often it was about life interrupting. I'm 12 miles for school. There's not a bus route, and my car broke down, or my parent got sick, or my boss required me to work different hours, or just all the different ways in which life interrupted, and particularly in our most vulnerable populations. And so what we've started to add on a little bit through the state, but more often and locally based, is to have wraparound services for those students. But like I said, particularly our most vulnerable and our first generation college students who find it a little easier just to say, I'll set aside college for now and I'll come back. And we all know that the longer it takes you to complete, the less likely you are to complete. So our big learnings have been, hey, this is the right idea. I passionately believe that college access programs like this are the right ones. But we also, I believe just as strongly, we're not doing anybody a favor if that student gets there and is not prepared when he or she gets there. And then the other thing is we have to be realistic. And when life happens to these students in ways beyond their control that will mean them having to interrupt their college experience, it's really helpful if we can begin to think through what are those, again, I don't know a better term than wraparound services, the things that might help that student get over that current hurdle so they can actually complete. Let me just, as I finish up, thank you all for doing this. Thanks for being a part. One of the things that's fun for me, like I said, I'm a former governor now, but I can't tell you how frequently, I bet 3 times a week, somebody will grab me and say, thanks. I got a chance to go to college because of that. Or my son or daughter is there now finishing, and they thank me. Now, I just kind of happen to be the visible face. The reality is there were high school counselors and community college professionals and teachers and parents and so many other people around the state that helped make this happen. But I think the fact that there's always such a visible outpouring of gratitude around this shows how strongly people feel. And the last story I'll tell is this: when I was in the governor's office, there was a woman who worked on the cleaning staff at the governor's residence, and she decided when we announced, we started with Tennessee Promise for high school graduates, we expanded to Tennessee Reconnect for anybody, adults, and when we added that for adults, she said, I'm going to do that. And so it was fun for me because I would see her every morning before I went out to work, and she would tell me about how hard school was, and she didn't think she was going to make it, but she did, and she got and completed the first semester. And I knew that ultimately she would probably, when she got that degree, probably it might mean we'd lose her because she could maybe qualify for a better opportunity, but that's the whole name of it. And I could literally see her family, she came to an event and brought her family her children, and I could tell how proud they were of her. So at the end of the day, when we're thinking about all these programs and all the different specific tactics we want to increase access and completion, remember, there's behind that, there's folks the trajectory of their lives will be changed because of what you're doing. So thanks. It's really fun to be a part of this effort with you, and thanks for allowing me to be here. Wish it were live.